In this video, I want to talk to you about making a nice, safe, comfortable road trip. Many of you know that I travel a lot. I've actually been across the country in a vehicle 15 times in 15 months. That's a lot of road trips. In those road trips, I've had 2 instances that could have left me stranded. So I want to give you the top tips to help you make a safe and comfortable road trip. In those 2 instances that I had issues, they probably may not have been avoided, maybe could have been avoided, but these tips I'm going to share with you will help you get past those things and hopefully help you have a good, safe, comfortable trip. If you have a vehicle that you're about to take on the road trip, you're familiar with the vehicle, it's well maintained, it's your vehicle, you can probably look at the link below to show you the quick way that I get on the road. I seldom do these kind of checks. These are really checks that you want to make when you're taking a vehicle on a road trip that you're not familiar with or that you just purchased. Number 10, you want to clean the vehicle and get rid of anything from inside the vehicle that you don't need. You don't need to take a bunch of dead weight on a road trip. Tools, car parts, laundry, shopping things, stuff like that. You don't need the extra weight on the road trip. So take the car, clean it out, vacuum it out, and start the road trip with a relatively neat car. Number 9, try to find out the general maintenance history of the car. For instance, if the car has a timing belt, try to find out if that timing belt is within operational limits. If the car has some other things that should be done, like belts replaced, you want to take a look at those belts and things like that. One surefire way to get stranded on the road is to have a fan belt or some other kind of belt break. You see down there, this one has a serpentine belt that encompasses everything. Those belts need to be in good condition and have little or no cracks. Some of these belts are allowed to have 40 cracks per inch. If I look at a belt that has a bunch of cracks on it, it's not going on no trip with me. So you want to find out the general maintenance of the car. If it has not had the proper maintenance, you may want to consider getting that stuff done before you take the car on the road. My general rule of thumb is never have any work or maintenance done on a vehicle within 3 days prior of taking that trip. You don't want nobody digging in the engine compartment, taking apart suspension stuff, replacing stuff on the engine the day before you leave on the trip. Because if something goes wrong, you're on the road and you may not find out that something's wrong until the car has been started a few times and you figure out it's leaking. So try not to get anything done to the vehicle within 3 days, preferably within 7 days of making a road trip. Number 8, you want to check your fluid levels. Make sure your coolant level is good. Make sure your brake fluid level is good. Pull your oil dipstick. Make sure that level is good, but you have to wipe the dipstick off, push it back in, pull it out, check the level. Check your power steering fluid. Make sure that level is good. You want to make sure that your coolant level, your oil level, and your power steering level, brake fluid levels are all good. Number 7, you want to check the vehicle for leaks. Start the car while the car is running with the air conditioning off. Look under the vehicle and make sure that nothing is dripping. You should have no oil leaks, no coolant leaks. You could drive the car for a few minutes, park it in a dry spot, let it run for 5 minutes, shut the car off, let it sit for 10 minutes, start the car and move it. You don't want to get in a vehicle that has fluid leaks and try to get out on the road. Number 6, take the car on a short test drive. You want to get the vehicle out on the highway, drive it 10 or 15 minutes Make sure it warms up. Make sure it doesn't try to overheat. Come back into town, drive for 5 or 10 minutes. You want to make at least a 20 or 30 mile drive around town before you take a car out on the highway. If you don't, you may end up in trouble. Number 5, you want to check the tire pressure and check the threads. Get really down and look on the inside of the tire as well as the outside of the tire. Make sure they're not damaged. Get you a tire pressure gauge. This is one I have here. They sell different type of tire pressure gauges. Take the valve stem cap off, check the tire pressure, make sure that it's within its proper limits. Tire pressure limits are normally found inside one of the car doors or inside the fuel door. As you can see inside the fuel door, the front pressure is supposed to be 36. The rear cold pressure is supposed to be 32 psi. So you want to make sure you check that the tire pressure is within its range. You also want to check the back of the car for a spare tire. There's nothing worse than getting out on the road, you get a flat tire or something, and there's nothing you could do about it because you don't have a spare tire or you don't have the tools to change a tire if one becomes flat. Number 4, you want to check for strange and odd noises. Start the car, open the hood, and listen. See if the engine is making some weird, strange noise. You may have a belt tensioner going bad, an alternator going bad, or something else going bad in the vehicle if it's making some strange noise. So, if you start the car and you hear some strange noises, figure out what it is or take it to a mechanic and let the mechanic figure out what it is before you get on the road. You don't want to get out on the road and have an alternator or some kind of belt pulley go out 200 miles from nowhere. Number 3, make sure your car stereo works. Nothing worse than being on a long road trip and the stereo doesn't work. You also want to make sure that you have music that you like to listen to, or that you have some way of playing music you like to listen to, like a smartphone or something like that. Number 2, you want to check and make sure that the lights and your signals and stuff like that work. Nothing more aggravating than being out on the road and finding out that you have some kind of light that's not working, or getting pulled over by the police because a headlight is out or some other kind of light is out that's causing you to get pulled over by the police, especially the one by your license plate. Some towns have problems with those, some don't. You don't want to find out the hard way. Number 1, check your paperwork. Make sure you're legal for the road. Get you an insurance card and check and make sure that you have the proper up-to-date registration and your tags are not expired. Some states will actually impound your vehicle if you're traveling without the proper documentation to make sure that you're legal to drive. Last but not least, once all those things are taken care of, simply gas up and go. I hope these tips have helped you know what you need to make a good, safe journey. I always tell people, a vehicle doesn't know if it's being driven 30 miles or 300 miles. All it knows is that it's being started, it's getting warmed up, it's being driven somewhere, and it's being shut down, hopefully to start again. Hope those tips help. Post if you have any questions. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.